We're here today to talk to you about the changes that are going into effect on October 3rd. The CFPB has issued a new rule called Know Before You Owe, which is going to be affecting all new residential loan applications. And we're lucky enough to have Jeremy Potter with us. He's the Chief Compliance Officer for Norcom Mortgage, one of our wholesale lenders, and he's going to talk to us today a little bit about what the real estate community needs to know.
Thanks for having me. One of the critical things about this rule is it changes when we have to disclose certain documents to the customer, both at loan application and just before closing. One of the things it did was it established at least a 3-day waiting period prior to closing. Some lenders have to create the documents 6 days, 7 days, 10 days before closing. So make sure when you're talking to your customers about this rule that you have all the information finalized, giving lenders enough time to get the new required documents out to the customer.
Talk to us a little bit about what realtors should be doing during the process before closing.
One of the critical things is an accurate closing date. Today, a lot of times contracts come in and they say the last day of the month, for example. But in everyone's head, they're hoping to close a week before that. We need to have that information. The new rule requires lenders to work backwards from the closing date. If the closing date changes, lending partners need to know to make sure we hit that date.
That's great. Especially today, it's going to be so important to work with people that you can trust in this industry.
Absolutely. Communication is key under this rule. This rule requires that addendums, for example, any changes that occur after the initial contract, changes just before closing, get communicated back to the mortgage broker, to the lender, to the attorney, so that we can issue those new documents and still hit the date in the new government timeline.
So do you think it's the end of the 30-day closing?
I don't think it's the end of the 30-day closing. You probably hear that a lot in the market right now. Certainly early on, we have a lot of the loans with the old rules going through the process, and we have these new loans coming in on October 3rd under the new rules. So there will be some transition time that causes some delays, I'm sure, as with any new rule. But more important than that is we're still creating an environment we can hit the 30-day mark, and by January, let's say, within a couple of months, we're going to be back to business as usual, and I think we're going to look back and find that it's a more efficient rule and it's better for the customer because it cuts down on documents and it clarifies the closing date in a much better way than it does today.
That's great, Jeremy. Thank you.